English Defence League. Mr. Robinson, good afternoon to you, so welcome.
Yeah, hi, how you doing?
Welcome to the programme. Yeah, what are your political ambitions, Tommy?
Not sure, to be honest. When I was asked that question yesterday, I just said we're evolving. I hope after hearing David Cameron's speech, I hope he's going to put action words into action. He's going to do something, because David Cameron, before he became Prime Minister, spoke about the Military Covenant Law, which is a 400-year-old law which demands respect between the British public and our military. And that's being broken on a weekly basis. Yeah, it's a law. He spoke about that. He hasn't done anything about it. He spoke about the human rights law, which he said had changed, that illegal immigrants are not given asylum here after murdering British people, which he hasn't done anything about that. If you know about that little Amy Houston, young girl who was killed by the asylum seeker up in Blackburn, he hasn't done anything about that. But what we're saying is we hope that they are going to put words into action and do something. So we don't want to become a political party. We just want the top politicians that are there to do their job, protect the British public, protect our freedoms, protect our way of life, protect our culture. Don't just sit back while it gets steamrolled over, which is what we're seeing going on across this country.
Okay. So if no other political party does that and defends...
We may have to evolve into one. We may have to. We've evolved in the last 2 years. We're now seeing the purity come with our organisation. We're becoming a more credible organisation. Our last 4 demonstrations, we've had zero violence at, zero trouble. We've been commended by the police, congratulated by the police, and we're seeing ourselves become a more mainstream party, and we're attracting people from all different walks of life and religions, because everyone's affected by the Islamisation. Everyone's affected by Islamism, by terrorism, by extremism, by our culture being eroded. Everyone wants something done. Obviously, I started this organisation. I'm just a working class lad, just a normal lad from a normal town. I'm from Luton. I'm not educated in a way to be a politician in any way, but we know our place. I know my place. We're the bottom of the food chain. We want Middle England to wake up, hear our voices, hear our concerns. Please do something about the way we're living and where we're living and the effect that Islam is having on us. That's all we want. Yeah. So I don't obviously, but if nothing does come of it, I believe that an anti-Islamism organisation will spring to the forefront. Whether it's ours or not, we'll see what happens with it. We'll see where we go. But we're gaining support. As I said, with regards to online support, we'll overtake Lib Dems, Labour and Conservatives by the end of this year with membership on online. Because we're speaking on behalf of everyone. When I say everyone, we're speaking on behalf of every single working class community in this country.
How different are you, Tommy, to the British National Party, for example?
We're complete opposites to the British National Party. But the difference is, a lot of the people who would have joined the BNP with regards to members, the members that would have joined them wouldn't necessarily have been racist. They'd have been desperate. When you're drowning, you clutch at straws. That's it. That's what happens. And a lot of people in these towns and cities feel like they're drowning, so they're clutching at whatever they could. But the core leadership of the British National Party is racist. They are fascist. Nick Griffin's a wrong 'un, and he's a complete wrong 'un in my eyes. And we are the opposite to him. I don't stand by him. Not when I've grown up in a multicultural town like Luton, and half my best mates are black. I know there's good and bad in everything, but the problems that are coming out in most of our communities are rooted to Islam and the Islamic community, and they're the ones we need tackling. And we need a fair and open debate where people aren't scared. And that's the difference. I'm coming out and saying it. Our members coming out and saying it. That's because I haven't got a job to lose, mate. I don't need no one's votes. It doesn't matter to me. I'm saying it for the love of my country, for the love of my future generations of youth. That's why we're saying it. With politicians, they're bound over. Even all the ones in major political parties, they're so treading on eggshells about what they say in case they offend certain people. But these things need saying.
I'd just like to ask you that, Tommy, because I'm very grateful for you joining us, because it's very hard to get people from the English Defence League to talk on phone-in programmes like this one. I think people are genuinely confused about what you stand for.
They're not genuinely confused. That's propagated by the media. That's a distortion of our truth.
Okay.
Anyone who looks at our organisation properly, joins our forums, not on Facebook, joins our forums on our website, comes to demonstrations. Every one of our members say, well, when I first heard about you guys, I thought you were racist. I've been told this, I've been told that.
That's my point, Tommy. You're here now, so it's worth you telling my listeners, because I think I'm just giving you information that they give to me. They are genuinely confused about what the EDL is. What are you? What do you stand for, Tommy?
We're a human rights organisation. We want our human rights to be listened to, not just asylum seekers, not just extremist Muslims, not just terrorists. Our human rights. We want a complete close down of Sharia law in this country. We've got 100 Sharia law courts operating now in Britain. We want an end to them. I know they're building one in Cardiff. You're from, this is Wales. We tried to come and demonstrate over that issue, but again, the propaganda against us tells people we're Nazis, we're fascists, we're racist. We're not. We hate Nazism and Islamism are opposite sides of the same coin. They're identical. They're just one's now hiding behind a religion to do it. And it needs stopping. So that's what we want to stop. And we want to defend our culture and our way of life and be proud to be who we are. Like, they've stopped all education in most of the schools around here. Anything to do with Britain, part of national curriculum where I come from is all the children have to visit the mosque. I don't agree with Islam. I don't fundamentally agree with it. I don't want my children to visit it, because every time we see an expose on anything to do with major mainstream mosques like Birmingham Central Mosque, East London Mosque, these two mosques are meant to be the beacons of moderation mosques. Each time we see them, there's homophobia being preached in them, there's Sharia law being taught, there's anti-British, anti-democracy, all these things are being taught, and no one's got control of it, and they're building more mosques by the second across the whole country, and then they can't even govern the ones they've got.
Let me introduce to you, Tommy, Professor Sir Dayan Hopkin, who's a political commentator. He joins us now. Hello, Dayan. Welcome to you.
Hello, Jason.
What are your thoughts on the English Defence League entering mainstream British politics, Dayan?
Well, I think it's very interesting that it comes at this particular time, because if you look historically, it is at times of economic distress and difficulty that very often groups of this kind come along. By the way, there are 378 registered political parties in this country. Adding yet another one, I think, may in fact pose quite a challenge for whoever's organising it. And quite a number of these, 10 in fact, are what you might call parties very similar in description, the Freedom Party, White Nationalist Party, and so on. Not suggesting that they are the same as the English Defence League, by the way. It was very intriguing to hear the way in which Tommy Robinson distances himself from other parties of that kind. However, what tends to happen is that when you do actually present yourself, and if you look at the website for the English Defence League, what you have is somebody with a mask and the St. George's flag on it. That will almost certainly attract to it people who may not be the people Tommy Robinson is referring to.
Yeah, Tommy, do you understand that that's the difficulty that some people have with the English Defence League?
I do, but then I also understand the difficulty our supporters have with regards to their jobs. Many of them have lost their jobs just for being members of the English Defence League. The picture he's on about the mask, that's myself. And I wore that mask, when this organisation started, and I hid my identity for at least 12 months until I was exposed. And the reason I hid my identity is because why should I have to put my life on the line? But at the same time, we wanted to make the stand, we wanted to get it up and going, but I always knew that no one's going to listen to the working class. Hid my identity, hoping someone will get in contact who knows what to do with this organisation, knows what to do with this big, strong movement, and no one did. So the mask's now off. For the last week, my family have been under 24-hour-day police protection. I've had 2 Muslims have been arrested for threatening to cut my children's heads off. Do you know what I mean? So whilst we want to make a stand, these are the consequences that come with it. And this is happening to all 3 of our leadership. Gurmit Singh, the Sikh lad, he's been under 24-hour-day police protection. And it's because of what? This highlights the issue we're talking about. You can come out and talk about certain issues, but as soon as maybe this is why no politicians have spoke about it. Maybe they don't want their family under protection.
Tommy, we have spoken to Gurmit in the past. Do you regret then and getting rid of that mask? Do you regret going public, Tommy? Or is the cause that great to you?
No, the cause is that great to me. I regret for the sake if you come and meet my missus who regularly cries in the evenings. I regret it because of that. Do you know what I mean? I regret it for the strain it's put on my parents and just all my immediate family. But I do believe this has to happen. And when I say it has to, I'm thinking of my children's future and their children's futures in future generations to come. I believe that if we're that weak that everyone stands by and completely lets this country walk into an oblivion, which it is at the minute, people have to wake up. Islam is not compatible. It's not working. Something has to change, and we're a symptom of it. There's many different things that are coming out of it that are symptoms of it. Unless you get to the root cause of the problem, instead of trying to deal with all these symptoms, get to the root cause, tackle the root cause, and I believe the root cause is the teachings of Islam.
Sorry, Tommy, sorry to cut across you. How did you feel about Mr. Cameron's speech on the weekend in suggesting that multiculturalism has failed?
Personally, I think it's unfair to say multiculturalism failed. The reason why I think it is because there's many communities that have come to this country, the West Indian community, even now the Polish community, there's many different backgrounds that have come, and they have integrated. But my parents were Irish immigrants. So, and that people have integrated into society. I think you need to change the word multiculturalism to Islam. But that's the same thing. They broaden the argument. It's like we keep seeing Asian pimping gangs. Well, that you're broadening the argument again. It's not Asian pimping gangs. It's Muslim pimping gangs. So by saying multiculturalism failed, he should have come out and said Islam has failed in this country. It's failed to integrate. It's failed. Not obviously all followers of Islam, because there are some great Muslims. I know great Muslims in Luton. I know loads of them. But fundamentally, when they're taking that religion in a 7th century barbaric form, it's going to fail. Something's got to change. And we can't keep on dealing with the symptoms, which is what we're all doing. We're all talking about these little issues. You need to get to the root cause of the problem. Someone needs to be brave enough to call a national investigation into the Quran. That's what we need. We need to see what's going on, because the hate has to be coming from somewhere. The problems have to be coming from somewhere.
Tommy, lots of people getting in touch with us. Alwyn in Cardiff says, all this talk of the EDL brings back memories of Mosley and his black shirt. So no, they won't be getting my vote if they did enter British politics. Darren in Pentra, I would vote for the EDL, definitely. They have the courage to do what others don't, although they are accused of being racist and having racist elements.
You didn't